emphasize on the economics of folklore and not just to explain to you what is or who is a folk at all. Now, culture is now understood as a product, and culture is also now understood as a process. And cultural studies see people as consumers and also producers, and it gives the cultural goods provide different cultural values, namely aesthetic pleasure like beauty, harmony and the like, the spiritual pleasure which includes insight and understanding, the social pleasure of connection, identity. This is where you have to understand that culture gives you an identity. Now, I would like to emphasize that culture is a public good. Are you students of economics also? Your understanding of economics also? Yeah, then I emphasize. Otherwise, I will not go into that in detail. Yes. I would like to say that culture is a... I think the students may ignore the slides because I would take the subject in a different way, and I think it will distract your attention on that. Now, I would like to emphasize that economics is a good, explaining culture as a good. So, culture as a good and culture as a public good. Now, why I say culture is a public good? Because it engages the attention of everybody and everybody can consume it. Supposing you are performing an art. So, if it is a folklore which is being explained which is being performed in a stage, then everybody can attend it. But if it is performed in a stage or if it is performed in a small room like this, where only a selected audience will be allowed to perform. So therefore, this involves an economic activity. Now, culture is an experienced good. That you experience the culture, you experience a given performance. It is not like an ordinary commodity which you buy and sell, but it is a commodity that you experience in yourself. Now, why I say it is a commodity? Because it involves the activity of an individual. And that individual is not just a person who does it for the sake of his own interest, but a person who also performs it for his own livelihood. I think this makes a difference. Because any cultural activity is not performed for the sake of the individual's pleasure, but the performance is made as an economic activity because he is also a person who earns his life, who earns for his life, who has to do his consumption, who has to maintain his family, and he has also the vision to grow. So therefore, any cultural activity then becomes an economic activity. So this is where I would like to emphasize. Now, what is the role? Then how do you protect this cultural activity? Now, there are two forces. One is the market force, other is the welfare activity or the role of the state. Now, how can the market help an artist? Can the market help an artist? Because the market in any other situation is always competitive and profit oriented. It's profit oriented. So, can an artist stand the test of time under the influence of market forces? Now, it's a question to be answered. Because the market forces are always competitive and the market forces are always profit oriented and the market forces are always exploitative in character. So, therefore, an artist who is not just an artist for the sake of aesthetic pleasure, but he is also an economic being, has therefore to be protected. So therefore, the market forces cannot protect the individual artists. Now comes the importance of the state. The state is a welfare state. If you take India as a case, the country has committed itself as a welfare state. A welfare state has to take upon itself the welfare of the people in all its dimensions. And the welfare is always founded on equity principle and not just on efficiency or profit project. Now when the state regulates this art, then the state has got all the responsibilities of meeting the costs of regulation as well as giving the best advantage to the individuals. So this is again a very basic understanding of economics. So the state regulates the requirements of the individuals, the artists in the society, and therefore you find the state, over a period of time has taken the role of the patrons of art, just as you had kings and the royalty, protecting the interests of the artists in those days in the history. Now you find the state has taken over that responsibility of protecting the interests of the artists. So here I come to the next stage of my lecture, where I would say, now having explained that a folk is a person, an economic being, then I explained that folklore is an economic activity, then I explained to you the nature of the folklore as an economic activity to protect her, and it is faced with the twin challenges of market forces and the state. Since the market forces cannot protect the folk, because very often you find that the folk represents the communities, and the communities are always the indigenous people of any country, and these people are communities which are not exposed to education or the modern styles of living, and therefore they are the illiterate mass of any society, but they are rich in their culture. They are poor in the external influences of the world, but they are rich in their culture, and the folklore and the traditional knowledge of any country is something that to be cherished, to be protected, and therefore in that situation the market forces cannot protect them, the state alone can protect them, and therefore the importance of the protection of the knowledge, the traditional knowledge and the folklore which we are talking about. Now comes this next stage where I would like to emphasize on. Now in the internationalization of the world today, when we have made the world flat, when we have cut across the boundaries of our countries, when we have made the East to meet the West, when we are trying to bring around everything that is American in our soil. As I was driving through the streets of Taiwan today, I saw that everything is American now, but except your language. I would like to say that everything is important. Learning a language is an art by itself. Learning English is equally important as much as you preserve your own language and the culture. Gone are the days to say that we have interpreters, we are Chinese, we are Japanese, we are French, and therefore we will not learn the other languages. The days are gone. That you have to cut across the boundaries of the world to see that what best you can appear for yourself as well as to your own country. But at the same time, you should not lose your roots. Please do not copy the lifestyles of the West. Please preserve your lifestyles. Please preserve your culture and heritage. So therefore, because of this internationalization of the world, the globalized trends of the world, the marginalization of the boundaries of the countries, the territorial integrity of the world today, you will find that the onslaught of the forces, the capitalist forces, which will try to plunder, this is what I would say, will try to plunder the rich national heritage of your country. So therefore, it is essential that the state has to come into the picture. The state has to regulate the trips you are talking about. The internationalization of the traditional knowledge. As much as it is important, it is also important that it should be protected, because you do not know that how much you will be exploited if you do not protect yourself. So therefore, it is essential. I think the next speaker will speak to you on the details of the protection of the traditional knowledge and folklore. But I only give a foundation to this idea to say that one point is that I would like to say that internationalization, the reversal of which is impossible today. You have to be part of the globe. You have to move to the rest of the world. But at the same time, you have the responsibility to protect yourself, because you are going to be the leaders of tomorrow. You are going to run the state machinery of the country, and you are going to protect your country's traditional knowledge and folklore. And therefore, with these few words, I give the mic to the next speaker. He will, as a lawyer, he will speak upon the details of the protection of traditional knowledge and folklore in the era of globalization. Thank you.